Stacy Schulz, and I'll be your host for this edition of Exploring Aviation. In the studio this evening, we have Bill Tischer. Welcome to Exploring Aviation, Bill. So how did you get involved in aviation? How old were you?
I was 32 years old, and at work, one of my coworkers was learning to fly, and he was telling me how fun it is and all the great stuff. And so he said, yeah, you should just go out to the airport and watch people bounce landings. And so I drove out to the airport, the Anoka Airport, just down the road from here, and watched planes, little two-seat Cessnas, just start banging onto the runway, and people were walking away. So I thought, well, this is kind of fun. And they had, back then, it was an intro to flight for $15. And so, you know, they cast the little reel with the $15 thing, and then I took my ride, set the hook, and been flying, 18 years, something like that. So.
That is great. Now, do you own your own aircraft at this point?
Yeah, I've got 2 airplanes myself, and then I'm in a club with 4 other airplanes. So total 6 airplanes, because you can never have enough airplanes.
So I've heard about this certificate, or I guess the first level of training called the private pilot certificate. Would I, if I wanted to join a flight club, would I be able to do that with a private license?
Sure. There's actually even 2 other levels below the private. There's the recreational pilot, which is sort of like a private pilot's license. It's got more tighter restrictions in what you can do, but it costs less because you don't have to do those extra things. And then what was later on is, well, within the last 5 years, is the sport pilot, which is catching on more than the recreational pilot. And the sport pilot, they actually created a category of airplane, so you don't have to go out and fly a Cessna or whatever. And so there's a lot of new airplanes coming out now that are in the sport pilot category. It's less training than a private pilot. It does have limitations, like you can't fly at night, you can't, without extra training, go on long trips, things like that. But it's designed for the people that want to be able to just go out and have some fun flying around without all the extra stuff that may be something they're not interested in anyway.
Sure.
So you'll save time, save money, and you get to fly a lot of cool new planes that are just coming out.
And from my understanding, you basically own, you're like a shareholder in an air club.
Yep, so if you do a club, exactly. So the way these things work is you pay anywhere from $300 down to $3,000 to $5,000, depending on the club, and that gets you a share of that airplane. And there's usually a monthly dues kind of thing to belong to the club, which is in the $25 range, something like that. And then there's the actual cost of the airplane. Clubs vary from time to time as far as what they charge, but in general they're a little bit cheaper than going to a regular flight school, because the members themselves are the ones flying it, so the insurance rates are generally lower, so they don't have to charge as much.
Sure.
So
if I'm a young high school student, I'm 14, and I say I'd like to go tell my parents I want to go flying, could I start at the age of 14, or would I want to wait until I'm 18 years old and out of high school?
Nope. The only limitation is you can't solo until you're 16 years old. So you could start flying at any age, really, but you just won't be able to solo until you're 16. I had a student that his dad would bring in. His dad actually worked at Lockheed Martin designing military fighter jets and stuff. And maybe 3 or 4 times a year, he would bring his son out. And I think we started when he was 12, and just little by little expose him more and more to aviation, so that by the time he is 16, we'll just hop in the plane and I'll sign him off for his solo, and he'll be on his way.
Sure, that's great. So he could start doing his private license, and then if he wanted to go, let's say, to the airline later on, potentially he could go to a university, continue his education along with his flying.
Exactly, yep. So to fly commercially, you need to be 18 years old. There's a few more things that you have to learn how to do. There's little extra rules that you have to learn, but it's not a large step to go from a private pilot to a commercial pilot. And like you mentioned, there's a number of different ways you could do it. You could learn at a private school, such as the ones at the Anoka County Airport, and you'll do just fine. Or you could go to places like the University of North Dakota where you can actually earn a degree in aviation as well as getting all your flying credentials done. So just depends on how you want to do it.
Sure. I found that there's a rather misconception about when you say you're getting your commercial license, everyone thinks immediately you're going to the airline.
Right.
Does that have to do something with regulations, or is it just a naming issue?
Yeah, well, the commercial license allows you to get paid. So there's things that the FAA wants you to learn so that you don't cause any accidents or, you know, fly people around for hire that, you know, you may be able to fly people for hire, but the airplanes aren't able to be flown for hire because there's different regulations for maintenance. So the first step is to get the commercial license that allows you to get paid, but that, like you said, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be jumping into the left seat or right seat of a Boeing 737. There's a few more things you got to learn after that.
A couple more steps.
Exactly. Like where's the key for the 737?
Where's the key?
Right.
And where's the cockpit?
Exactly.
Exactly. So with your aerobatic flying, what types of training did you have to go through for that?
Usually you just kind of turn the plane upside down and go, wow, this isn't good. So that's one way, is to kind of learn on your own. There's a lot of really fine pilots that just figured it out, and they're still with us today. Then there's actual instructors that you can, you know, for whatever they charge, take you up in an aerobatic airplane, learn how to do spins is probably the first basic maneuver. You can do aileron rolls, loops, hammerheads, all that kind of stuff. But you have to have a special plane that can do that. You can't just do that with any old airplane. So.
And then you practice, practice, practice.
Right, right.
Great. Is this probably your favorite part of your flying, would you say, or?
You know, every part of flying is different, so it depends upon what you're doing. If you're in the mood to go fly upside down, then that's fun. If you want to just go, you know, go along a river and look at the countryside, that's fine too. If you're hauling, you know, a cancer patient, you know, to their treatments, you know, it just depends. Because you're not going to be doing any aerobatic stuff with your, you know, doing all these cancer patient flights. So
so there's a broad range I'm
Absolutely.
taking that you could do with aviation.
Exactly.
Aside from making a career of it at the airline, doing the air shows,
exactly.
Training people.
Yep, yep. So you could be a flight instructor, you could be an airline pilot, you could be an air ambulance pilot, you can be a maintenance person, you can just fly for fun, you know, whatever you want to do.
That sounds great. That sounds great.